I'll hit record on the show and we'll get going. G'day trendsetters, welcome to episode 168 of the Trendsmooth podcast. My name is Tim Egg, and if you have any questions you'd like submitted on the show, jump on through to the website trendsmooth.com and fill in the info. Today's question comes from Steve. Now Steve is a regular who likes to send in questions, and I like receiving his questions. But more importantly, I like receiving regular questions from people because we all get to follow their journey as we're going. And Steve, on his last question, I said to Steve that he should join Final Surge and link his Final Surge account to my coaching account. So when he sends questions, I can just jump on through, have a look at what he's done, and give him better answers. So I've got to actually send him the invite tonight via my coaching page. Now that invite goes out to everyone. If you guys feel like you're going to send in a question, or you'd like just some general information or whatever for the show, join Final Surge. It's 100% free. They've got a free app. You can connect your Garmin to it. You can connect Strava to it. You don't have to look at it ever again if you don't want to, but it's still collecting all your data. And then when you have a question you'd like to submit, give me just tell me about it, and voila, it costs me nothing. It costs you nothing. It's a win-win. It provides you with a better service, but it also provides better quality content to the listeners, because we're diving deeper for that particular athlete. But on with the actual question. So Steve asks, how many hours a week of training should I have? I feel like realistically, 6 is what I can do, but is that enough to do a 70.3? Should I be squeezing in an extra hour or two, or just change things up completely and be shooting for 9 to 12 hours a week? So that's a pretty cool question. And one thing you'll hear me say on a lot of episodes is, what's your available training hours? And so 6 hours is your available training hours, then that's what it is. Do I think you can qualify for the 70.3 World Championships with that? Highly unlikely. But what are your goals? Are you trying to finish? Then yes, I do think you can finish a 70.3 with 6 hours of training. One thing you will hear me say is, your goals must replicate your actions, or your actions must replicate your goals, I should say. I get frustrated when I hear people talk about, I'm going to qualify for Kona in the next 5 years. I'm doing all, I'm going to get stuck into my training from Monday. Well, I'll be from Monday. I fell off the wagon, but from Monday I'm going to qualify, But their actions aren't qualifying. They're sitting home watching the new season of Billions and not getting out working. But it all comes within your available training hours. Do I think 13 hours? I can't say to you, I think 13 hours is better than 6 hours, because I don't know your life. Only you do. Something's got to give. What's got to give? For you to find double the training hours, are you going to be sleeping less? Can you afford to sleep less? Will you be taking time away from your family? Is it going to compromise your work? Will you be missing out on other family activities? All this is very important, and it all got to be within your goals. Not just in goals in your race, but goals in your life. So you've got to work out what's the most important thing for you. And unfortunately, I can't answer that bit. But to me, it's I'm very lucky. Just the way my life's structured, and I'm getting luckier as I'm getting older, because my kids are growing up slowly, and my son, he's 9 years old. He can now swim with me. He can now, I can do runs, and so he can follow me on the bike. When I first started doing triathlons, if you looked at my training logs, when I first did my very first Ironman, on average, may have done around 6 hours a week on average. And in that 12-week period leading into that Ironman, now I knew nothing about training. I knew I had to swim, I knew I had to bike, and I knew how to run. I had a company at the time. My company was growing. Well, I had a couple of companies. I had a security company, I had an investigation company. Both of them were just taking off. I had a very young family. My son was 1 year old. My daughter, a few years older than that. Trying to do the maths there in my head. Numbers are hard. My wife was had a lot of stress going at the time, so it was hard to, she had postnatal depression, still suffering there, and so it was hard for me to find time. So I knew, I went from virtually doing no triathlons at all, to occasionally being a weekend warrior on the bike, to, I'm going to do an Ironman, and I got hooked. But now, my valuable training hours are a lot higher. I don't have those companies anymore, and that life's a little bit, a hell of a lot nicer for me these days than what they were. But I did, I was able to complete the Ironman. Did it in 14 hours and 15 minutes. But they were my available training hours at the time. Now your available training hours, you with those 6 hours a week, you just got to make sure you can swim 1.9 Ks, budget for 2, just in case you go off track. You got to be able to cycle 90 kilometers. Now don't stop at 90 in training. If possible, at least go to 100. 120 is better. But that's word better. You got to make sure you can cycle 100. You got to make sure you can cycle 90. You got to make sure you can run 21 Ks. I like to use, for something like this, I like to use the $10,000 rule. If I was to offer you $10,000, could you complete a 70.3 this weekend? I'll bet you it's definitely, 10,000 cash on the line, you probably could. Most people could. Most semi-active people could, when we're talking about $10,000. Now, I was talking to someone just very recently who was talking. They said, "Oh, I'd love to do an Ironman, but I could swim, I can bike, but my knees can't run. I couldn't do it." And I explained going back to my very first Ironman, there was this woman who, and then you got to keep in mind, leading into this Ironman that I did, my longest run was 10 kilometers. So underdone. So I get off this bike with this woman, and she had a camel pack on, and she all she did was power walk. That's all she did. She just got into a good power walk groove and started going for it. I started off running and then started walking. She caught me. I started running again. She caught me. I started running again. She caught me, and I would walk a bit. And my walk pace was so much slower than her continuous walk pace. And by 32 kilometers in, I look like I'm on a death march, and she beat me by a long shot. She just walked. I walk, run, but she still killed me. And so I was telling this guy that you don't, if you get off the bike at a certain time, you could walk that whole time and still finish within time. But you need to practice your walking as well. So I'm not saying that for you, Steve. I'm just giving an example for everyone that, I think you've got 7.5 hours to complete a 70.3. So time's on your side. You just got to make sure you get off the bike in time. You just got to make sure you get out of the water in time as well. So you just got to, back again. Can you do it for $10,000? You bet you could. But 6 hours is definitely good enough. You've got to make sure you stay very consistent. Now also, what are you doing with all that other time? Can you do a course session sitting at home? My kids joke around saying the only time they've seen me sit down and watch TV doing nothing was during the Tour de France, and I believe that was the first time in years that I've actually just sat down and just lied down actually on the lounge and just watched TV. I never do it. Generally, if I'm going to be watching something, I'm there stretching, I'm there doing a core session, or I'm on the foam roller, or I'm on my laptop doing something for Train Smooth. I'm always doing something. I'm never not doing it. So there's always those little compromise things too that what else can I do to help me? So but it's also the way you structure your sessions. So I'm not a big fan of saying, minimal training for people who can't, minimal training for that maximum gains, doing hard intervals. If you haven't got a base, doing those short, fast intervals, like I'll give you an example. Doing a series of 100-meter sprints over a period of 20 minutes, like warm up, easy 5-minute jog, do 10 minutes worth of 100-meter sprints, maybe an easy 5-minute jog resting. Some people can do that and get away with it and not need to do these 2-3 hour long runs. Most people can't though. Some people can, most people can't. You're opening yourself up for injury. You've got to make sure you've got the mental head to be able to go through a race like that as well. So for most people, I wouldn't even consider doing that. I consider getting the volume in, get your recovery in through your volume, and then you can add intensity from there. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any other questions, send me through an email, tim@trainsmooth.com. Till tomorrow, hooroo. Hooroo.